All right. I think we can get going. Thanks again for joining. My name is Courtney Scarborough. I am the Deputy Director here at NCEAS. You can see our little logo up here. NCEAS, we pronounce it NCEAS. It stands for the National Center for Ecological Analysis and Synthesis. And we are located at UC Santa Barbara. So we're a research center at UC Santa Barbara, but we're located actually downtown in Santa Barbara. And we have been here for almost 30 years as a synthesis center. And so we'll get into what NCEAS is, what this call for proposals is, what the Gulf Ecosystem Initiative is today, and tell you a little bit about how you can come here and join us to do synthesis science. Before we get started, we'll do introductions of our team here. So again, I'm Courtney Scarborough, Deputy Director here at NCEAS. And we also have our two of our current postdocs that are associated with this program and a project manager here. So Heather, you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Courtney. My name is Heather Lahr, and I'm a program manager here at NCEAS, and will be helping usher you through this process when you choose to apply.
And we have Ray, who is a current postdoc.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ray, current postdoc. As Courtney said, I think there are 3 of us from the 2023 cohort, 2 of us here today. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can help with today or any other part of the process for all you guys interested in joining us here.
And we also have Shayna.
Hi everyone, I'm Shayna Starrow. I am also a postdoc here for the Gulf Ecosystem Initiative, and yeah, started a few months ago and happy to be here.
Thanks. And the Gulf Ecosystem Initiative is a partnership between NCEAS and the NOAA Restore program. So we also have our NOAA partners here. We'll start, we have Caitlin Young. Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Caitlin Young, and I am the Acting Associate Director for the Restore Science Program. Happy to have you all on today. I'll pass it to my colleague, Hannah.
Thanks, Caitlin, and hello, everyone. I'm Hannah Brown. I'm the Communications and Engagement Specialist for the No Restore Science Program, and I will pass it to Katie.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Lacer. I am a Science Policy Fellow with the No Restore Science Program, so I'm glad to be here too.
Thanks, everybody. We'll also, all of us here on the panel will be available for questions at the end. So if you have any specific questions for any of us or the postdocs, that will be, we'll answer all the questions at the end. But in terms of how to ask questions, we have the Q&A feature set up for this webinar. So as we're going through, if questions occur to you, please pop them into the Q&A. You can go to the bottom of your screen and you should see a Q&A box, and you can click that, open that up, and type any questions you have. Feel free to do it throughout the whole process. And then at the end, we will kind of consolidate the questions and ask them out loud and give you some answers. So we're excited to be here. Thanks for joining us. And we're really excited to talk to you about this program, our working groups, and our call for proposals for postdocs and working groups. So let's jump in. So little overview of today. It should take only about 15 or 20 minutes of actual presentation because we want to save as much time as possible for questions. We know this is a newer initiative, and we know that synthesis science can be new and interesting and potentially sort of amorphous for people. So we really want to make sure that we can answer your questions at the end. And here's our agenda. We'll give some background on the program, talk to you about what working groups are and what these working groups will provide for you, including data science and communications and facilitation trainings, if that's what you'd like to get out of this program, how to apply, and then how we evaluate the proposals and how you can stay updated. And then we'll hop into questions. So here we go. The Gulf Ecosystem Initiative, like I mentioned, is a partnership between NCEAS and the NOAA Restore program. It's a 5-year program, and it's going to sponsor working groups of scientists and managers to collaborate on solving questions across the Gulf of Mexico. This is our second call for working groups. So second of 5, and our first call for working groups, we funded 2 working groups, one that is focused on fisheries and offshore wind in the Gulf, and it's a really exciting group of really interdisciplinary folks who are coming together to synthesize information on how offshore wind impacts fisheries. And the PI for that project is Fulton Harris. And then the second one that was funded is around fisheries and ecosystem responses to severe weather. So this is different types of severe weather events that will occur in the Gulf and how fisheries are impacted. And this project just had their very first meeting here at NCEAS last week. So excited to kind of meet that group. Another very interdisciplinary group of managers and scientists and all different types of representatives who are affected by severe weather in the Gulf. And we're excited to host these 2 working groups for 2 years. And so our next call for proposals that we're talking about here today, we'll host another 2. So we'll have 4 working groups concurrently running. And we can jump into kind of what a working group is, what the timeline looks like, and things like that today. So what is a working group? We refer to working groups here at NCEAS as sort of, we refer to them as working groups, but they're teams of 12 to 16 people across government agencies, NGOs, tribal governments, academic institutions, anybody who is involved in the management and the actual, implications of this science, we want to have as part of these groups. So we want a very diverse group of people to come together and bring their ideas and bring their, respective experiences to bear on how science can impact management in the Gulf. So meetings for these working groups consist of 2 to 4 collaborative sessions over 2 years. And so these projects are 2 years long. The groups will come often twice a year for a total of 4 meetings. And they come here to NCEAS. So they meet in person, which is kind of a key component of working groups, is that it's a concentrated time that you all can come together and work in person and really get that kind of special interaction and concentrated time together that really accelerates the science and accelerates that process from science to management. And in between those in-person meetings, you can have virtual sessions or, smaller group sessions virtually, where you can keep the momentum going for the project, but the real concentrated in-person time is where a lot of the work gets done. And then there's these threads throughout the 2 years virtually to make sure that momentum keeps going. So these working groups also have trainings that are offered as associated with them if the working group wants to kind of increase their skills, increase their ability to work as a collaborative team. So we have collaborative data science, communication, and facilitation trainings available that are hosted by NCEAS and can be tailored to the project needs of the group. So this could consist of, shorter data science trainings, introductions to R and GitHub, things like that, or, how to write a press release, how to write a message box for your project, things like that. And then we will offer facilitation trainings if that's helpful for your team. Each call for proposals that we're doing will fund 2 to 3 working groups at $75,000 to $125,000 across 2 years. So that budget is available for your team for 2 years. And these are annual calls. And the products we expect to come out of these working groups can be anything from peer-reviewed publications to models to databases to policy briefs, policy recommendations, anything that really takes the science and makes it useful and applicable to natural resource management throughout the Gulf. And key to this call for proposals is the areas of interest. So while there are these 3 areas of interest, which are climate change, fisheries, and the ecological impacts of management, these are very broad categories, and your proposal doesn't need to just fit into one. there are a lot of ideas that span climate change and the ecological impacts of management. And the more you can tie your proposal to these areas of interest, multiple if possible, or if reasonable, that's great. So these are the types of projects we're looking for. We're looking for projects that dive deeply into climate change and feedback loops, into fisheries, and into the management decisions at any scale throughout the Gulf that generate an understanding for current and future action. And just so we make sure everybody is on the same page, when we say the Gulf, we mean the Gulf of Mexico, and the ecosystems include both estuarine and marine environments, continental shelf, all the way out to deep water environments, international, federal, and state waters. And we want to look at processes that impact the Gulf of Mexico in direct ways. So this could be up to the watersheds draining into the Gulf and the coastal and terrestrial areas that provide habitat for wildlife. So it is a broader definition of the Gulf than just the waters within the Gulf. It's really sort of the full ecosystem perspective and how other coastal terrestrial watersheds, estuarine environments impact the Gulf as well. So synthesis science can be sort of, sometimes it can be an intimidating word, sometimes it can mean everything. So when we say synthesis science, we are talking about the act of combining existing data, theories, and tools to gain new insights and answer new questions. So synthesis science takes the information that is out there. We know there's so much data available to people in the Gulf. There's so many years of research, so many years of ecological monitoring, and it's all there for us. And what we want to do is take what exists and start to synthesize the information and say, if we put these data with these theories, can we answer new questions that people have not answered yet or even asked yet in the Gulf? So, synthesis science is particularly well suited when there's a really broad base of existing fieldwork and data, like in the Gulf, and when there's large scale questions that need to be answered. And so, the Gulf is ripe for more synthesis to happen because so much work has been done there. And especially, in the last 10 years, there's so much focus there. So what we want to do is allow researchers to disentangle what's known and unknown in the field and work together to create scientific questions and scientific products that are really applicable to real world problems in the Gulf. So we need that link between the science that's getting done and on the ground management. And to have that happen, we need all those people in the room, and we need everyone bringing the existing information to synthesize it together into something new and innovative. So why working groups? Why would you even want to participate in a working group? So, as we've mentioned, our working group model brings together 12 to 15 researchers here in Santa Barbara. So we fly everyone in for usually 4 to 5 days. It could be 3 to 5 days. You come here, you have focused and intensive working sessions multiple times over the course of 2 years to solve big environmental questions. So what this working group model does, by bringing people sort of out of their home environments, out of their home institutions together for an intensive sort of retreat style working group, is one of the things it does is it enables trust and commitment and creativity through this extended focused collaboration. And also it allows a lot of fun. And a lot of times kind of the really big questions come out of the more fun times when you're just socializing together, or you're talking about your science and talking about how you've thought about this idea and somebody else in your group has too. And what if you put that information together? And what if you were having a beer while you had these ideas? So it's one of those sort of fun times to both socialize and have really intensive working time together. So a diverse group of people will come together here, bring their data, bring their ideas, and they're able to connect otherwise disparate dots. discover key gaps in knowledge and increase the velocity at which ideas are generated and work is done. It also enables peer review on the fly and facilitates these sort of serendipitous breakthroughs when people are able to come together with their ideas and iterate in these intensive sessions. Co-development of the science is key to these working groups. So we're really looking for science that can inform management decision-making. And so getting the managers and the scientists together in person to develop ideas and pathways for application is crucial. And it's something that's not often available to groups. And that's why we think the working group model is kind of special. Another reason is that it does bring together these people that don't often get to meet in person, who probably should be regularly collaborating. They are working on the same issues. They're focused on kind of answering the same types of questions, but this gives them a venue and a diverse group of voices to come together around those ideas and work towards kind of creating solutions. And then it also allows career development and mentoring opportunities. We really look for a diversity of career stages within our working group. So as you're thinking about the group that you want to bring together, make sure that you're thinking about early career people who need to be networking more and making more connections in the Gulf, as well as senior scientists who kind of know how to lead a project and know how to help the science go from ideation to really application and everything in between. So it's a nice career development opportunity for early career, mid-career, even late career professionals. And then there's opportunities because we have this diverse group of people for mentoring opportunities to happen. By bringing everyone together for 2 years, you really get to know each other, get to know the needs of the group, and also kind of how to help people move forward. And so why do a working group? NCEAS was the first synthesis center that was funded by the National Science Foundation in 1995. And we've been around for nearly 30 years, and it's having NCEAS around in this academic and management environment has really led to a cultural shift in the ecological community towards promoting open science through convening working groups and training the next generation of ecologists and scientists. So we really focus on all the information being open, all the data being open, and that allows people to come together, put everything out on the table, share the information, and come up with new solutions. And over this time, these 30 years, sociologists have spent quite a bit of time actually looking at NCEAS and studying the scientists themselves. So we have scientists come in and study the scientists and to kind of determine what the secret sauce is and why working groups are so productive and what's so unique about this model. And really what they found is that compared to independent scientists or remote research collaborations, diverse teams that come together in a neutral space, not at their home institution, not, where the day-to-day life of day-to-day things, family commitments, getting everything done, move away from that, come to a neutral meeting space like NCEAS, and you're able to dive in more deeply and creatively into the science questions at hand. We also offer resident support that lowers that activation energy required for doing science. So we provide logistical support, computing support, data management training, informatics expertise, and advice on the leadership of synthesis teams. So it really helps, eliminate sort of the logistical planning and the getting everybody on the same page so that you can hit the ground running. And a key element to meeting in person leads to higher, as we mentioned, higher levels of trust, a faster generation of ideas, and higher productivity because you're lowering that activation energy and you're really accelerating the process of science to happen over these 2 years. And the trainings we offer to the teams are aimed at supporting groups at every step of the way through the collaborative synthesis process. So we can offer trainings from the fundamentals of team science to making reproducible workflows for your team, data management and storage, data visualization, science communication. So we offer tailored trainings to each working group to help them progress where they need to the most. So they're provided throughout the course of the 2 years, and we will offer both sort of trainings at specific times that multiple working groups can participate in, as well as work with your working group to say what would be most helpful for your team and when, and we can make those things happen based on the expertise we have here in-house at NCEAS. And some of these modules could be, you know, an hour and a half up to a full day if that is useful and interesting for the group, and if people want to be spending time in that space. So we'll work with you to determine what these trainings will, how these trainings will be most useful. And NCEAS offers, in terms of support, we offer the space, the logistical support, facilitation, and training of these pieces to lower the activation energy. So we moved to a new facility in the last 3 years, which you can see here in the upper left. It's middle of downtown Santa Barbara, so walking distance to the hotels and restaurants. So once you're here, and you can walk from place to place. We have a big outdoor space, so especially, you know, as COVID hit us, it has been so nice to be able to meet outside. And for working groups, you can have small group meetings out here, and just be able to socialize, have your lunch outside, get away from the meeting space, and get some outside time. We have a large classroom for we use for trainings and for other aspects if needed. And then we have 2 conference spaces that fit up to 20 people. So those are sort of the key components of our space. And NCEAS has become sort of a model for how to bring diverse groups of people together to collaborate and incubate ideas that lead to practical solutions, from the scientist to environmental management application. So it's now been copied by 23 synthesis centers around the world. And so we know that this model works to kind of get the type of science to management solutions we're looking for. And in the end, we've really found that the working group model does accelerate scientific progress, and we hope to be able to support more efforts like these to bring synthesis science to on-the-ground management solutions. And hosting cohorts of postdoc researchers in collaboration with working groups has really accelerated the postdocs' careers in a myriad of ways for years to come. And we've had over 150 postdocs here at NCEAS, and many of them are now leaders in the field. And we hope to be able to connect these postdocs to the world of science and management in the Gulf of Mexico and beyond. So our hope is that by bringing postdocs in to support working groups, the working groups can also help develop the careers of these postdocs and vice versa. So speaking of postdocs, we also have an open call for postdocs as part of this working group call. So we have up to two positions available. They are 2-year positions with the potential for a 3rd year of support. It's a 50-50 split between working with the working groups that are selected, as well as doing your own independent research, which is, I think, a really unique model for a postdoc position. And it allows you to both build those networks, help support a collaborative scientific endeavor, and also work on your independent research that you want to be pursuing and thinking about in the future. So I think that's a unique and really awesome opportunity for a postdoc. It's based here in Santa Barbara, so you'll be in residence here for the 2 years with funding for travel to the Gulf of Mexico and multiple conferences a year to help with connecting to scientists in the region and also help with your career development. And applications are due March 15th, which is the same day that the working group applications are due. And we have 3 current postdocs, and 2 of them are here today. So we're really excited. If you have questions about the postdoc positions or how they work or anything, Ray and Shayna are both here to be able to help answer your questions. And feel free to reach out to all of us. So I feel like I just gave you like a pitch for why NCEAS is a productive, supportive, and hopefully fun place to collaborate around your science. But I also know that the proposal process can be sort of daunting, and it can seem especially hard if you've not written a proposal like this before, or you don't know if the idea you have or the group you've put together quite fits the call. So if you are excited about a scientific question that has management applications, and you're excited about the possibility of a working group, but have lingering hesitations or questions, come and talk to us. We really want to support new scientists doing synthesis. So we're especially excited to support early career scientists and others that haven't yet experienced this sort of working group model of science. And we don't want the application process to get in the way of getting new people, or people who have been doing synthesis for a long time but haven't done a working group model. We want to welcome everybody into the synthesis world and see how kind of really transformational it can be to do a working group. So we've tried to make the process as transparent and open as possible, first by making the proposal and budget template pretty standard and allow for an ease of writing. We're not asking for tens of pages or hundreds of pages for this proposal. We really want it to be light and transparent. So we have templates available, and we hope that it doesn't require very much administrative burden on your end. So because of the, if you're an academic institution, there should be no need to go through your sponsored projects approval channels, because no money will actually be transferred from us to your institution. We will just be reimbursing individuals for the costs associated with the working group. So that really lowers the administrative burden, I think, for a lot of groups, because it's just a reimbursement process. There isn't a huge grant approval process and transfer of money from institution to institution. We also have weekly office hours. And so if you have any questions about your ideas, about the group you want to put together, we are happy to help you collaboratively hone your ideas, hone your proposal, think about what the best mix of working group members are to answer the questions you're asking. And we want to make sure that we have diverse groups of scientists and managers and kind of everyone who should be involved in these projects. So we can help you think through that, and we can be there to really help you develop an interesting and really competitive proposal for this process. So we have office hours every Wednesday from 12 to 1. And if you can just sign up directly, we have a link for that. And if you're not available at that time, email us. We can hop on a call, and we are really happy to work with you to make sure that we get the most competitive synthesis proposals we can. And we also hope that the reporting requirements are not onerous. We have, minimal reporting requirements so that scientists and managers can focus on the questions at hand and getting, using their time as wisely as possible to develop science and solutions rather than grant reporting. So we hope that kind of our process allows people to focus on the things that they want to get done, and allows us to welcome new people into this community. So apply. You and your science are important. And in terms of evaluating proposals, we have 10 evaluation criteria that focus on balancing the scientific and management innovation of the group with the group composition, diversity, and inclusion aspects, because we know that scientific success goes hand in hand with having the right mix of experts in the room and having a diverse group of voices be able to inform that science. So each of these 10 criteria are weighted equally in the initial expert evaluation, which is done by our Scientific Advisory Council. So from inclusion, diversity, efficiency of use of funds, are the data available and likely to be available? Applicability, so is this project potential to have high impact contributions? is the research applied? Are you asking an urgent question that needs to be answered right now? Does the science serve solutions? So are there clear management and policy implications of your science? Are the outcomes and results informing management? And is it a unique contribution? Is this something that you are bringing an exciting group of people together to uniquely contribute to the science management of the Gulf? So with that, I will stop here and take any questions, but here is our timeline for the rest of this proposal process. Proposals are due March 15th. Postdoc applications are due March 15th, and we will have our Scientific Advisory Council meet after that, and then we should have awarded proposals by June. So please visit our website, come and ask questions at our office hours, and let us know what would be helpful.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Courtney. We do have a couple of questions popping up, and just a reminder to everyone, the Q&A box is down at the bottom, so feel free to ask your questions there, and I will read them out to Courtney. So one of the first things that has come up is that we defined Gulf of Mexico, including international waters, and we showed Cuba and Mexico on the map. So first question is, can participants come from those areas? And can the focal synthesis focus on issues that transcend the wider international Gulf, or is it really just focused on the US Gulf?
Yes, and yes. International participants are welcome and encouraged, especially if the questions you're asking involve those regions. We want international participants to make sure that we are capturing both the science and management aspects that are most important to be focusing on. And yes, we're looking at the full Gulf. So international and national waters are included in that. And as applicable, we want to make sure that we're focusing on the regions that are impacted by the information we're bringing together.
Great, thanks. And in terms of, you mentioned you might be able to talk through groups and like facilitating group membership. So if people are having trouble finding 12 to 15 people in their immediate network, what would you suggest in terms of finding additional people? And do we, help? How would we help them? Would we like start a meet and greet program or work in smaller teams, or how would NCEAS sort of help facilitate finding additional members of a group if needed?
So I'd say there's kind of multiple pathways for this. As I mentioned, NCEAS has been doing this type of work for almost 30 years. So our network is very large, and we usually have at least one working group here almost every week, up to 2 or 3 a week. So we have a lot of working groups coming in and out, and we have a large network. So the first path, I think, is if you have an idea that you're excited about and you have a small core team and you want to talk to us before you submit a proposal about how to round out that team, we can meet during office hours and kind of get at your question. What question are you answering? What question are you asking? And what types of people do you think can help you answer that question? Like where, let's say you have a lot of you have a few oceanographers, and you have an ecologist, and you have a social scientist, but you would also really like to have representatives from Mexico, or you would also really like to make sure that you're focusing on some of the more, business related questions. We can talk through that and kind of identify the types of people that would help round out your group and make sure the diversity of voices that need to be in the room are. And then we can look towards our network to start thinking about matching you with people and kind of connecting you with people, just to have conversations before the proposals are due. If you have a proposal and a relatively well-defined team, but you're really looking for a representative of a certain type, And you can also submit your proposal with your table of participants that are confirmed. And then if you know that you have a gap that you want to fill, you can identify that type of person and say, we're looking for this type of person. We know we need it. Help us find that person. And we can do that after proposals are submitted. And if that proposal is accepted, then we can also work then with you to try and find that missing one or two people that we think will help round out the team. If you know that you want a more diverse group, make sure that you either come and talk to us or put it in your proposal that we need one or two more people to really make this team the kind of dream team that we're looking for. And so acknowledge that and make sure that we know that you are thinking along those lines.
Great, thanks. And can you talk a little bit more about the funding and kind of, it basically is covering travel to working group meetings. The question is, can you please talk a little bit about what funding typically covers in addition to the travel, if anything?
Yep, so we have, there's a budget template, so you can download that budget template from our website and you can see all the things that are allowable there as well. But we cover travel, your stay here, a per diem to and from Santa Barbara. We can cover things like publication costs, facilitation of the group. We can cover some things depending on what you need in terms of, we can talk to you about website development if needed, or there are a few other sort of more technical sides of things that we may be able to cover as long as it fits within your budget, but we don't cover salary for anyone. So this is, if you are interested in a working group, you are interested in doing the science and management side of things and coming together outside of your salaried position. So we're not providing salary to be here, but we are providing everything to get you here and set you up for success.
Great, thanks. And I will just add, because this is coming up in another question. So as Courtney mentioned, there is a budget template. And so costs are estimated for Santa Barbara in that template as well. And we have all logistical support. So you basically need to tell us, we have 12 to 15 people coming, and we say, great. And we organize the hotel room for you, and you actually book your travel through our travel agent. And all you really need to do, the only out-of-pocket expense for most participants is just their meals, which you don't even need to submit receipts for. You just get a per diem. So we try to make out-of-pocket expenses very minimal, and you can book everything through us, and we have support staff here to do all of that for you. But it is, in terms of budgeting, it is in the budget template of how much those things typically cost. And I would say that would just be a consideration for international participants, that potentially, obviously, those plane tickets might cost a little bit more. And so, you need to balance that within your budget, but definitely international participants are welcome. All right, I think we have come to the end of our questions. I'll just stall in case anybody else has any last minute questions they might want to ask us. If you don't, again, we'll be available for office hours and really encourage everyone to come and chat with us. But looks like my stall technique did not work. No additional questions, Courtney. So I think we're come to the end.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate you all coming and hearing what's going on here. We hope you will apply. We really want, to get new people, new ideas here at NCEAS, and we really want to be able to take this synthesis approach to the Gulf in new and innovative ways. So come talk to us. Feel free to email us with any questions as well. If you want to continue the conversation, there's our email, website, Twitter/X, and office hours. So thank you all so much, and hope to hear from you all soon.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thanks,
I
everybody.
think we had another question, Courtney.
Okay.
I can read it.
Yeah, thanks, because I'm still reading through them.
Okay. Yeah. So one of the questions in quotes, they say, not providing salaries, end quote. It's cool then if our work in the group is within the purview of our original duties.
Oh, absolutely. So, I think the best way to have a working group is to say, I work in this field and my job is X, Y, and Z. And for the last while, I've really been wanting to ask these questions with an interdisciplinary group of people. This is like your opportunity to ask those questions and bring together a group that maybe you wouldn't be able to bring together in your day-to-day, work at your institution or at your organization. And this is an opportunity for even organizations to come together and say, you know what, we've been really wanting to bring these group of people together forever because we know that we have ideas to share and we know that we're looking at the same data in similar ways, or we're looking at the same types of questions, but we just haven't had that funding opportunity to bring everybody together and ask those questions. Like that is what we want to have happen here. This doesn't have to be some extra thing that you're doing on top of everything else you do. If this can help you do your science and management better within your job, like that's exactly the type of thing we want to be supporting too. So please come and talk to us about that too.
For what it's worth too, I've noticed as one of the postdocs here that some of the outstanding questions proposed in the working group proposals, they just happen to have skill sets and interests that overlapped with those of the postdocs. So that's something else that can kind of help shape things in terms of, again, going outside of what outside of the work that you may be used to. And then building on that, there's another question, Courtney. Could you describe the current working group projects a bit more to give me a better idea of the types of work or questions that Synthesis Science answers?
So Shayna and Ray, do you want to answer that question since you've been working closely with the working group so far?
Sure, yeah, I guess I'll go first, Shayna, and then you can maybe I'll leave the offshore wind one a little more towards for you, Shayna. But so yeah, last week we actually had the first working group meeting for the project regarding the effects of extreme weather events on fisheries, and that project is focused on kind of the Texas coast of the Gulf of Mexico. And basically how that project is shaped and how that meeting went is we had about 10, 12 or so scientists present their basically long-term monitoring data that they've been collecting over the past 10 years to 50 years. And then we're kind of figuring out, okay, if we piecemeal all of these data sets together, how can we put together an end-to-end ecosystem model of these Gulf of Mexico estuary and coastal systems in the Texas area, so that we can maybe force the model with some simulated extreme weather events to figure out what happens at the biological end of things. Basically, the idea there is each individual is coming with their own data set or data set provided by the institute that they work for. We're just going to mash them all together and see what relationships we can draw between the physical aspects of things and the biological aspects of things. And I guess I can talk about my independent project. I'm working with the CMAP plankton survey data set to look at bottom-up trophic effects in planktonic food webs to try to resolve some of the variability in ichthyoplankton abundance and distribution, with a lot of those ichthyoplankton being larvae of commercially important finfish species like red snapper and tuna, as the larval indices are often used in management as spawning stock biomass proxies. And then I guess, Shayna, you could just handle the wind one if you want.
Thanks, Ray. Yeah, so the other working group that was funded for this year is looking at offshore wind development and impacts on fisheries in the Gulf of Mexico. And I will say, some of it is similar to what Ray talked about with the other group in terms of pulling together different data sets, and like the PI for this working group, Holden Harris, does work with like the EcoPath and EcoSim models, and so that's a component of it, is pulling together data so that we can include offshore wind development impacts in those models and see what impacts there might be. But there are various other components as well, and they're also, I will say, still in development. We are leading up to our first working group meeting, which will be in January, and throughout the past couple months, Ray and I have been working with the leads of the working group a lot to kind of figure out interests that we have and how those fit in with the working group, and helping to refine or kind of decide the directions that we want to go with it. And some of these questions we're actually going to leave open-ended and kind of decide with the whole working group when we have everyone together. So we're thinking about like putting together from the working group members what are some of the key research questions and priorities in the Gulf of Mexico. So maybe from different sectors of people as representatives in the working group. Ray and I have, some background in like meta-analyses and systematic reviews. And so we're thinking about doing some, that basically a systematic review and meta-analysis on the impacts of large artificial structures on organisms and fisheries, to see if we can extrapolate that as predictions for what building a bunch of offshore wind turbines might look like in the Gulf of Mexico. And then we're also looking at maybe some other ways of synthesizing or compiling data from the various monitoring programs in the Gulf of Mexico that provides a lot of data out there. And so we know there's all that data out there, and we're trying to think about the best ways that we might be able to use that and make that useful to be able to address this question of offshore wind impacts. But again, we've been kind of talking about these things, we're refining them over the past couple of months, and we're also, we don't want to make all of the decisions either. So we're really going to talk about these things with our working group members as well, to make sure that we drive our questions and priorities and products in a direction that will be useful to, not just academic scientists, but to the managers and fishermen and everyone as well.
Thanks, Shana. Thanks, Ray. To sort of synthesize what Shana and Ray said, and kind of give you an idea of, those are the two working groups that are currently working, and what types of questions do we like to support are, synthesis science questions. So yes, we want to be bringing together existing data to answer new questions. So there's no, new data collection. New data collection is not part of this process. What is part of this process is starting with a question and saying, we want to answer this interdisciplinary question about the Gulf as it relates to either climate change, fisheries, or ecological management. And we know there are data out there that can help us answer this question. So let's come together and see how we can combine the data that we know are available to say something that's scientifically applicable to management. So we like it when people start with the question and then look for the data that are available to help answer that question, and maybe also identify data gaps that need to be filled. When we think about synthesis, it is bringing data together, but it's question first. What data can help us answer that question? And we hope that we can kind of then create both science and data products that are useful for the specific question we're answering, but also maybe have a longer lifespan for other projects as well.
All right, I think this time truly we are out of questions. So I think we could wrap it up. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Hope to hear from you all soon. Bye.